Hey, what's going on, everybody? This video right here is for people who are new to the hobby or new to planted aquariums. And the video that I'm filming today is basically how to set one up and the key components that you need to buy and that you need to have. So I'm going to go really quick, and then I'll try to make this video as short as possible. And I'm going to show you guys how to save money and how to come out better overall, and how to how to take care of your plants and what to expect after you plant new plants into your tank. Okay, all right, so first off, we're going to go with the items list. You're going to need substrate. So you have all kinds of different substrate, but as long as it's for a planted tank, it should be okay. I have a shrimp tank, so I got shrimp stratum, and then I got Seachem fluoride sand, and then over here a great all-purpose is Floramax or Eco Complete. This is Eco Complete, but in most of the chain pet stores they carry Carib Sea products, and you'll see a product called Floramax. Also, any of the Seachem products, substrates, they're all good. They're all going to give you the same benefits for the most part. So that's number one. Number two is going to be the lighting. So you can go balls to walls. If you got a whole bunch of deep pockets, you can go ahead and get Kessels and lots of really nice halides or T5 fixtures and whatnot. Or if you're a budget fish tank keeper, set up a low-tech tank and grab some lights for planted tanks. I have a great recommendation. Check out their Finex Planet Plus light fixtures on Amazon.com. They run about anywhere between 60 to 120 depending on the length of your tank, and they have a built-in timer and all that good stuff, so you don't have to keep up with turning on and off your lights. And so yeah, so you're gonna need lights. And then last is a questionable decision that you have to make. So do you want to go with like a Dutch tank like this, really a whole bunch of stem plants, shrimp, little tiny fish, and make it kind of look like a picture and do an aquascape like this? Or do you want to do something even, this is pretty too. I mean, you could do a tank with driftwood and stones and lots of different kinds of fish, and you can run no CO2. I mean, but the plants, these plants that are in this tank, they all dictate while they're in here. They all don't require CO2. All plants benefit from CO2. They will grow 50 times faster. Your plants will grow shit ton when you're using CO2. So I encourage everyone to use CO2. They use it to build their cell walls, and that's why they're able to grow faster. All right. So you got substrate, lighting, CO2, and the question of whether or not you want to use it. So if you're not going to buy CO2, then don't buy carpeting plants and Glossostigma and Blixa japonica. And all the different high needs plants that definitely demand CO2 along with the lighting. So you're going to need to pick up your phone and get on the internet and research aquarium plants and the difference between high-tech, high needs plants and the low-tech, low needs plants. So the low-tech plants, they can do good in CO2, no CO2, and you don't have to buy the expensive lighting. So going back to that, if you have like a basic lighting fixture like this one that came with your aquarium, or like a marine land that doesn't really say it's designed for plants, well, hell yeah, you can still have a planted tank. You can do crypts, and you can do tiger lotus, and you can do just had a brain fart and I shouldn't. It's Anubis. Wow, I can't believe I forgot the name of that plant. That's like the most common plant in the aquarium hobby. Okay, so Anubis. So you can do, swords, crypts, Anubis, Java fern, Java moss. Those are really good low-tech plants that don't require CO2. All right, and then going back to this, just don't try it. If you don't have CO2, don't put dwarf hairgrass in your tank and do all that stuff thinking that it's going to live. I've already tried it, guys. I'm hard-headed. It doesn't work out. It never works out. Now, as for alternatives, if you don't have a whole bunch of money and you want to still kind of put CO2 in your tank, there's liquid CO2, and then there's also DIY setups and then there's the paintball, not paintball, but the actual cartridge filters, CO2 systems. They're all okay, but I would go with Excel, Flourish Excel. It's a liquid form of CO2. I'd buy that by the gallon off of Amazon and use that instead of you know, dropping money down the toilet on those little refillable cartridges that they sell. They get expensive, and we'll talk about alternatives. But first, let's talk about CO2 safety and how to actually use the CO2 system. So we're going to go around the CO2 system, and we'll come right back to that. Okay, so if you want to run a CO2 system, you're going to need a regulator, which is this piece, and it plugs into a power strip with a timer on it. You're going to need a bubble counter to be able to count how many much CO2 you're introducing into your tank. 1 to 2 bubbles a second is the norm, and any more than that you can maybe potentially harm your fish if you have a small tank. I can run this thing, you know, really fast if I want to, because I got a huge body of water, but with a smaller tank I wouldn't advise it. And then you're going to need a CO2 tank itself. This setup was about a little over $200. So that's the first one, and then we'll come back around and talk about alternatives to not spending $200 on a CO2 system. Okay, so alternatives to getting to the CO2 system that I have at the back of my tank is called a paintball rig. You get a paintball canister and you get a paintball regulator from Aquatech on Amazon. The setup should cost you around $120 for everything, and that'll run the tank up to about 50 gallons, 55 gallons. Any bigger than that, guys, just go ahead and drop the money, spend the money on it, because it's going to be a trip every week to Dick's Sporting Goods or to your local hardware store to get your CO2 filled up. So I don't recommend that. Also, how much does CO2 cost, and what are the costs of running a system like in the back in a paintball system? So a paintball system is a lot cheaper. It's only like $6, and you only have to fill it up every 45 days. And the same thing with the one in the back. It's every 2 months I have to fill it up. But the big one's $24, and the paintball is only $6. So if you're budget conscious and you're not made of money, man, snatch up one of the paintball systems. I actually have a paintball system for sale, but unfortunately I don't do any shipping or anything like that anymore. It's going to be local for people who are local, and I'm going to sell my rig because my 40-gallon tank in the living room, I'm probably going to be taking that down and doing something different, and I'll probably be selling that tank in there, and I'll no longer need that CO2, that paintball CO2. All right. So, anyways, so we've discussed the different types of CO2 systems that you can get, and then CO2 safety. So you want to, if you leave your CO2 on overnight, your plants do not suck in CO2, and they basically suck in oxygen at nighttime. It's a reverse photosynthesis, and then they expel CO2. So they're breathing in oxygen at nighttime and expelling more CO2. So your tank will become depleted of oxygen, and it will fill up with CO2, and you will gas your fish. So that what will happen is that means you're suffocating your fish. There's no oxygen in the water, even if there's current or a bubbler. A bubbler, it's always good to have one of those in there if you're running CO2. But just to be on the safe side, what I recommend that you do, this is also beneficial for the plants. So you want to start your CO2 on an hour before the lights come on, and that's fine. It's not going to kill anything in 1 hour. To actually get the tank to the optimum level when the photosynthesis starts. So as soon as the lights cut on, the CO2 has been running for an hour. You let it run all day, and then an hour before the lights cut off, you have it shut off. Now, if you have one of those manual pumps, you'll have to keep up with it every day. If you go out of town or go on a trip, then it's going to suck, because you're not going to be able to turn your CO2 on while you're going out of town. You're going to have to turn it off, and then if you have stem plants and whatnot, they're probably going to shrivel up a little bit, and you could kill them if you're going long enough. Yeah, so I hope this video helps everyone understand, the things that you need to get. So good substrate, good lighting, pick the kind of tank you want to do, low tech or high tech. Both are rewarding in their own ways. And then learn about how to safely use CO2. Do your research on the lighting fixtures that you want to get that are good for your tank, that you can afford on your budget. And you need to put fertilizers in your tank every day doing a EI dosing method, or you want to do it once a week in a major dose after your water change. Planted tanks, you only do like 20 or 30% water changes. You don't have to drain out almost all the water. That's not necessary. Actually, the plants probably like it better when you do less of a water change. And then the temperature of the tank, plants like colder. Almost every plant, probably about 90% of them like colder water. So 78 degrees, 77 degrees is okay. I run mine around 77, 76 actually. If you're doing discus, then you need to research plants that can tolerate high temperatures. All right, and then so once you have all your materials, what I recommend that you do is you go ahead and you do a dry scape. So you set your dirt up, and then you put your rocks in, and you design your tank, and you put your driftwood in, and then you fill your tank up with water. And if you're doing a high-tech tank, then you can go ahead and just put all the plants in there and let them go to town. And if you're going to do a low-tech tank with no CO2, then you need to cycle the tank like you would with a regular fish tank, because stem plants cause a silent cycle, which means they suck up all the ammonia, so the cycle can't begin. And you can also research more on that, about the silent cycle, using a high-tech fish aquarium. There's videos on that. And then, just one more time to repeat that. If you're going to do a low-tech tank, just go ahead and cycle your tank first like normal, and wait about a month before you put a month to 6 weeks before you put any fish in, and cycle it with ammonia and bacteria. And a good note. EcoComplete and the Floramax already have bacteria in the bag, so you don't have to buy that. Once you put that substrate in, the cycle starts in a few days, and in about a month you're good to go. And then go ahead and plant your tank and put your fish in, and buy your fish, a couple at a time each week, and yeah, you're good. So what to expect after you plant your tank and after you set up a new tank. So anytime you buy new plants from the store, or you get them from someone, or you buy them online, you go through a process called melting. So look up what it means for new plants melting in a planted aquarium. So when you put them in, the plants are they go into shock, and then they look like they're withering away and they're dying. And what ends up happening is about 3 weeks later, they grow out new shoots in a new plant, and it grows up from that. Or sometimes they don't go through shock and they do fine. It just depends on the plant and your tank's parameters, and from the tank previous of where it was at. It doesn't happen every time, but generally probably about 50-50 or 70-30, you're going to experience some melting. For new hobbyists, don't throw the plants away until you know absolutely for sure that they're dead. Wait about 2-3 weeks after you planted it, and let that plant come back to life. You'll be surprised what they do. That'll save you a whole lot of money and a whole lot of heartache. I learned that the hard way a couple years back when I first got into this part of the hobby. Okay, so learn about new plants melting in an aquarium. All right, so that pretty much covers it. You have everything you need to know. What a low tech is, what a high tech is, how to run CO2, how to run it safely, the kind of lights you want to get, where to get it cheaper. How to save money on CO2, or if you want to go balls to the wall and all out like I did with the one back here, do it, man. It's going to save you money. I mean, and those do-it-yourself yeast things, I've done those before. I've been down the road. They're a hassle, and you're going to end up, if you really get into this, you're really going to just end up buying a pressurized CO2 system anyway. It's the best way to go. Go ahead and start with one of those if you haven't bought a CO2 system yet. And if you're lucky enough to find one used, buy used equipment. You save money. So that's it. If I left anything out, here's one thing. Also, maintenance. Maintenance on a planted tank. You have to trim your tank every other week or every week. If you're using CO2 like this, for me, it's just about every week or every other week. If you don't trim your plants, you let them grow all thick. Down here at the bottom of these plants, you see that down there, that area, these little stems? Those stems, they get real leggy, and your plants suffer. And then when I go to cut these down here, when I snip them, right here, when I snip this group of plants right here, I'm going to have to pull those roots out and move them, and then restart this plant over again, because it's really not going to produce much. I mean, I could leave it in there to see what it does. But that's what I've done over here in the very beginning with these plants. I chopped off the tops and then replanted them. So when you buy plants, you don't have to buy a whole lot of them. Just buy a couple of each species, You cut them off and propagate them, and pretty soon it'll fill in your whole tank. Now, I'm impatient, so I spent about $500 on all the plants that you see in both of these tanks all in one show, and I planted both of these tanks in a span of 7 hours. So all this got done in one day. You'll see if you look back on my videos how I started up. So that's another thing about plant care. Learn how to cut your plants. Also with Anubis, learn about the plants. Learn about the plants you have. These plants cannot be planted. They have to be tied to driftwood or rocks. If you plant them down in the dirt, the rhizome is going to rot and the plant's going to die. But that one and Java fern are the only two plants that I know of that grow like that, that are common in the hobby, that have to be required to be tied to a rock or tied to a tree. So that's the information on those and how to care for those. All right. So I think that about covers it for the basics and what you need to buy and everything. If you guys have any questions or if I missed anything, let me know in the comments. Go ahead, give me shit about it. And I'm gonna give a special shout out to Gilbert. This video is for you, buddy. I wish you the best of luck with your new tank. And if you have any questions at all, hit me up in the comments. Ask me anything you need. I'm here to answer anything and help any way that I can with everybody's tanks. You guys have a great week, and good luck with all your tanks. Peace.